Chapter 91 A Farce, Refugees. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Long time, no see, Sabo. Sabo glanced at Locke. Hey, it's been ages. Kara, watching the reunion, looked confused. Just then, Luffy's voice boomed as he approached. Locke. Sabo. Both turned, surprised. Luffy? What are you doing here? I thought I was seeing things when I saw that straw hat, Sabo exclaimed. Just cruising through Golden City, and look who I run into. Luffy grinned. Zoro and the others trailed behind Luffy, while Robin and her crew stood with Locke, and Kara stayed close to Sabo. Three powerful groups converging, a recipe for change. Luffy, you know the Revolutionary Army's chief of staff? Nami asked, a curious glint in her eye. The rest of the Straw Hats leaned in, eager to know the connection. Luffy shrugged. He's my brother. Silence. Complete and utter silence. Zoro and the others were speechless, unsure what to make of Luffy's connections. His grandfather's a marine legend, he's tight with Locke, and Ace was his brother, too. Now the Revolutionary Army's right-hand man. They wondered which other world-shaking figure would turn out to be a relative of Luffy. It seemed like everyone with power or influence was somehow connected to him. Kara's jaw dropped. Sabo being Luffy's brother was something she hadn't seen coming. Sabo chuckled, seeing Kara's reaction. Yep, and the infamous pirate Locke here is another brother of mine. Then there's Ace, too. Now Kara was floored. She'd been worrying about Sabo because of his association with Locke. Robin and Boa Hancock were mildly surprised. They hadn't known Locke had a younger brother like Sabo. Yamato, still new to the world, was simply out of the loop. So Sabo, what brings you here? Luffy asked, clearly stoked to see his brothers. Mission, Sabo said, not holding back. Investigating Golden City. Kara heard Sabo spill the beans but stayed quiet. He'd already said it, and she couldn't exactly tell him what to do. Luffy, what about you? Sabo asked, arching a brow. Not just sightseeing, are you? Luffy scratched his nose. Just passing through, thought we'd check it out. Yeah, sightseeing. Alright, let's find a place to sit, Locke suggested, noticing the growing crowd staring at them. It felt like being a sideshow attraction. They found a table at a nearby coffee shop. Suddenly, a man in the cafe spotted a woman he found attractive. He walked over, a bit nervous. Excuse me, can I talk to you? He asked hesitantly. She shouted, no. I'm not sleeping with you. The entire cafe turned to stare. Mortified, the man retreated to his seat. A moment later, the woman rushed over to him and whispered, I'm so sorry, I just wanted to see how someone would react in a super embarrassing situation. The man exploded. What? $100 is way too much. Now it was the woman's turn to be mortified. Red-faced, she slapped him. Smack, starred out a bright red handprint appeared on his cheek. What the hell? He yelled, punching her in the eye, and a full-blown brawl erupted. The chaotic scene was short-lived, and Locke and the others couldn't help but laugh. The seas are getting rough, Locke said, turning serious. Sabo, you should head back to the Revolutionary Army. Forget this Golden City mission. I'm working with Tesoro this time. Sabo paused, then nodded gravely. Understood. With Locke's warning, he couldn't risk a conflict over the mission. Oh, right, Sabo added, a thought striking him. We've had some refugees showing up at the base lately, displaced by the wars. One of them came with some kids. The leader even personally escorted her. Her name's Remy Ellie, I think, Sabo recalled. At the mention of the name, Locke and Yamato's eyes widened. No way, it's her. Locke said. You know her? Sabo asked. I've met Remy Ellie. She's had a rough time, Locke replied. Luffy, meanwhile, had been happily ignoring the conversation, fixated on the coffee. He picked it up and gulped it down. Tui. Luffy spat it out, sticking out his tongue and waving his hands. Gross. What is this stuff? It's so bitter and hot. Nami rolled her eyes. You drank it before adding any sugar. And did you miss the steam coming off of it? Luffy grumbled. I don't want this anymore. I want meat. Sabo chuckled at Luffy's antics. Still obsessed with meat, huh? Alright, Sabo, Luffy, we're about to take off, Locke announced. Leaving already? Luffy complained. Yeah, gotta handle some business. We'll catch up later, Locke said, standing. With a nod, Locke led Robin and the others out of the cafe. Soon after, Sabo said his goodbyes to Luffy and left as well. Luffy watched them go, eyes tracking their movements, before finally heading out himself. Chapter 92 Fire Fist Ace's Execution Incident, Reactions from All Parties. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After a few days, seagulls started showing up everywhere, dropping newspapers and flying off. What? They're executing Fire Fist Ace in 3 days. It's happening at Marine Headquarters, Marineford. Fire Fist Ace is the commander of the Whitebeard Pirates 2nd Division. Whitebeard's definitely going to try and save him. That means a massive war in 3 days. The 4 Emperors Whitebeard is taking on Navy Headquarters. The news spread like wildfire. Ace's execution was huge. On the Chambord Islands, in District 13, Shaki was counting money. Silver's Rayleigh was staring intently at a newspaper photo of Ace. Maybe this is what you wanted. Looks like you didn't follow in his footsteps. Ace. Rayleigh said, a mix of emotions in his voice. Shaki glanced at Rayleigh. What, aren't you going to save him? Rayleigh looked up. It's his choice. He joined Whitebeard's crew, so Whitebeard will be the one to save him. Me? I'm just an old man. I should stay here and mind my own business. Shaki just lay on the counter, took a drag of her cigarette, and said nothing. Meanwhile, in Wano country, on Onigashima, Kaido looked at the newspaper, looking tired. If Locke hadn't interfered, he would have read the newspaper and attacked Whitebeard a long time ago. Ever since Locke left Wano, Kaido had been dealing with problems in Wano. He wanted to reclaim the territory Locke took, but a direct fight with Locke to get it back wouldn't be worth it. He was focused on building his power. Locke had caused a lot of damage to the Beast Pirates last time. Kaido was getting angrier. He tore up the newspaper and roared, "Damn Locke!" At Red Force, Shanks was reading the newspaper with a serious expression. Kaido might try to sneak attack the Whitebeard Pirates while they're distracted. Lucky Roo said, between bites of meat. Captain, should we stop Kaido from attacking? He had a smile on his face and meat in his hand. Despite his size, he was a powerful fighter. Shanks replied, yeah, we need to stop Kaido first, then head to Marineford to stop the war. Shanks didn't know what was happening in Wano. He assumed Kaido would attack Whitebeard. But Kaido was too busy with Wano to attack Whitebeard. In the seas of all nations, on Whole Cake Island, Big Mom was eating dessert. She glanced at the newspaper, then ripped it to shreds. She didn't want to get involved. She was secretly building her power to defend against Locke. She knew Locke would show up at the war. No one is going to Marineford, Big Mom said, after a bite of cake. You're staying here. You're not strong enough to be involved. Charlotte Perispero, Charlotte Katakuri, and the other siblings nodded. Yes, Mom. Katakuri glanced at a photo of Locke on the wall nearby, with a knife stuck through it. He murmured, Locke. On the Moby Dick, Whitebeard and his crew looked at the newspapers. Whitebeard said grimly, set sail. One pirate ship after another headed toward Navy headquarters, Marineford. There were 43 pirate groups, tens of thousands of people, all ready to risk their lives to save Ace. At Navy headquarters, in a dark room, Sengoku addressed 2 figures, one blind, the other with black curly hair. You two will be the most critical secret weapons in this war. We can handle Whitebeard. Your main target is Locke. I'm afraid he'll show up at Marineford. Sengoku said sternly. Don't worry, Mr. Sengoku, Fujitora replied, gripping his cane. We know what we're doing. Green Bull just nodded silently. Sengoku explained a few more things, then Fujitora and Green Bull left. No one knew about Sengoku's meeting with Fujitora and Green Bull. The meeting place was top secret. As news of Ace's execution spread, Marineford became a hive of activity. Naval bases everywhere sent elite soldiers to Navy headquarters. Civilians were evacuated from Marineford on warships, which then brought in naval elites from other locations. Sengoku observed all this, then found Garp. No one knows what was said during their meeting. Transition. On 1000 Sunny, the boy in the straw hat was staring at the newspaper, no longer his usual cheerful self. He looked at the photo of Fire Fist Ace with a serious, worried expression. Luffy took out Ace's Viver card, which was slowly burning. Zoro and the others waited quietly for their captain's orders. Ace. Luffy murmured. Luffy, are we going to rescue Ace? Usopp asked. The Navy has Ace locked up in Impel Down, Nami said. If we want to save him, we need to find a way in. Is Luffy going to fight his way in? We're with you, Luffy. Sanji said seriously. Luffy looked at Zoro and the others, his eyes full of emotion. Rescuing Ace will be way more dangerous than anything we've faced before. Thank you, but it's too dangerous. Are you still our captain? Sanji said, looking at Luffy seriously. We've cried together, sweat together, bled together. If the captain goes alone because it's dangerous, then are we even worthy of being your crewmates? Zoro and the others looked at Luffy, determined. They had made up their minds to go to Impel Down with Luffy. Luffy looked at his friends, his eyes sparkling with tears. Then he shouted, "Let's go, friends. Set sail." Zoro and the others smiled, raised their fists, and shouted. Out at sea, a ship sailed along, a man and a woman reading newspapers. Ace. Sabo said, clenching his fist. Chapter 93 Impel Down City, Ace and Garp. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Impel Down, the world's first prison, located in the calm belt of the Grand Line, it's a terrifying place for the most dangerous criminals, guarded by monstrous jailers and surveillance. The surrounding waters are teeming with massive sea kings, earning Impel Down the nickname Iron Wall. It's structured as 6 levels. The entire prison is a colossal, tower-like structure submerged in the sea, anchored to the seabed, protected by the calm belt and patrolled by a fleet of marine warships. Impel Down seems impenetrable. Level 6, Infinite Hell, home to the most formidable criminals, including the legendary Golden Lion Shiki, who managed to escape. Portgas D. Ace was imprisoned in a cell beside Kaisha Jinbe. Jinbe's refusal to comply with the marine summons landed him in Impel Down, sharing a cell with Ace. Jinbe, I'm sorry. Ace said. I never expected to drag you into this mess. Don't sweat it, none of this is your fault. Jinbe replied. It was my choice. Ace was a shell of his former self, battered and defeated. Footsteps echoed nearby. Garp appeared before Ace, his eyes filled with sadness. It quickly vanished, replaced by a complicated gaze. Why couldn't you and Luffy just listen to me? Garp asked. Now look at this. What do you expect me to do? Ace smiled faintly. Gramps, don't forget you're a Marine. Ace said. You wouldn't want to bust me out of here. Garp stared at Ace. Don't think I couldn't, Garp said. Silence hung in the air. Ace knew Garp was capable of it, but he didn't want to put him in that position. Heh, Fire Fist Ace dying would be a win for the world. Shirlu sneered from a nearby cell. His death will deal a heavy blow to the Whitebeard Pirates and could even lead to Whitebeard's downfall. Ace flared up instantly, but before he could react, Garp was already storming toward Shirlu's cell. Shirlu, oblivious to the danger, taunted Garp. What, you gonna kill me? Garp ignored him and smashed his fist into the cell, aimed at Shirlu. Boom. The cell exploded, the force of the blow causing Shirlu to vomit blood. A shockwave ripped through level 6. Garp stepped into the shattered cell, his eyes burning with rage, radiating a terrifying pressure. He grabbed Shirlu and raised his fist to strike his head. Shirlu instinctively shielded himself. Boom. Garp's fist connected, sending Shirlu reeling. The place was going crazy. The commotion reached Warring States, who had been following Garp, on edge. He hurried toward level 6, but Magellan arrived first. Magellan, followed by Hannibal, saw Garp's blood-soaked hands, stained with Shirlu's blood. Vice Admiral Garp, you're going to kill him. Magellan shouted, approaching Garp. Garp glared at Magellan. Get out! That a terrifying aura surged from Garp, his eyes burning with murderous intent. He was looking to vent his rage. Magellan was terrified, so much so that he lost control of his bowels, leaving a trail of excrement. That stinks. Hannibal said. You pooped again. And you shat yourself, for God's sake. Hannibal complained to Magellan. Warring States arrived on level 6, greeted by the stench of blood and something far fouler. What's that smell? It's awful. Warring States grimaced. Fleet Admiral, Magellan crapped his pants. Hannibal blurted. Magellan glared at Hannibal. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Warring States snapped. Enough. Turning to Garp, Sengoku said, Garp, that's enough. He's going to die if you keep going. Garp paused mid-swing, then slammed his fist into Shirlu's temple. Boom. Another shockwave, more blood. Shirlu lay unconscious in a bloody heap. Remember your position. Sengoku said softly. You've vented enough. It's time to go back. He didn't want to provoke Garp any further. If Garp completely lost it, he'd likely destroy Impel Down and doom any chance of saving Ace. Garp glared at Sengoku. Let's go, Garp muttered. Warring States placed a hand on Garp's shoulder, at a loss for words. Before leaving, Garp glanced at Ace, letting out a sigh. Ugh, torn between his duty and his grandson, Garp was breaking inside. He was determined to ignore his duty. He hated the thought of Ace dying. However, Sengoku continued to watch him like a hawk. He was fully aware of Garp's internal conflict, but this was a burden he had to bear. As Garp and Sengoku departed, Magellan followed, leaving a trail of excrement. Hannibal covered his nose, carefully avoiding stepping in Magellan's mess. Ace watched Garp leave, silent and resigned. This was his choice, and he would face the consequences. Chapter 94 Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel, 7 Wu Hai Summoning Order. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A Navy warship showed up off 9 Snake Island, led by Vice Admiral Flying Squirrel. Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel, 9 Snake Island ahead. A sailor announced. Flying Squirrel, a man sporting a lavender-striped suit, a dark blue shirt and tie, a mohawk, and a dark purple beard and hair, gazed at the island. His mission was to recruit Boa Hancock, one of the 7 warlords of the sea, to Marineford. Roar. Suddenly, a massive sea king surfaced beside the ship, its jaws gaping, ready to swallow the warship whole. Moonwalk. Shave. Flying Squirrel employed the 6th form technique, rocketing into the air and hurtling towards the Sea King. Thwack starred that he dispatched the creature with a single blow. Blood gushed from its neck, and the beast plummeted into the sea. The water turned crimson with the Sea King's blood. Flying Squirrel returned to the deck to cheers. Wow, awesome. As expected of Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel, taking down a Sea King that size with one hit. A sailor exclaimed. When you're a Lieutenant General, you can do the same, Flying Squirrel said coolly. Meanwhile, on 9 Snake Island. Naval ship spotted. They must be after the Empress. The Empress and Lord Locke are at sea. Go tell Granny Nyan. Boa Sandersonia said, spotting the vessel. A female warrior raced off to find Granny Nyan. The Navy warship docked near the island, and Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel disembarked with dozens of troops. Where's Boa Hancock? He demanded, spotting Boa Sandersonia as soon as he landed. What do you want with my sister? Sandersonia retorted. If Boa Hancock's not on 9 Snake Island, where'd she go? Flying Squirrel asked. She's at sea. Anything you need, wait till she gets back. Besides, men aren't welcome here. Sandersonia declared, as the female warriors behind her gripped their weapons. Oh. Flying Squirrel said. Are you refusing a direct order from Navy headquarters? You know the consequences to Amazon Lily if she loses her warlord status. He drew his katana, and the sailors behind him adopted fighting stances. Sandersonia hesitated. The warlord title was crucial to Nine Snake Island's safety. Without it, they'd be vulnerable to both the Navy and pirates. Just then, Granny Nyan arrived. Boa Hancock went to sea with Locke. She announced. Believe it or not, try attacking Nine Snake Island, and I can't guarantee what Locke will do to your navy. Nyan was flanked by Boa Marigold, Margaret, Everina, and Belladonna, followed by scores of Amazon warriors. Flying Squirrel's eyes narrowed at the mention of Locke's name. He considered whether it was a bluff. He didn't know if Boa Hancock was actually involved with Locke, but Nyan wouldn't lie about something like that. Nobody joked about Locke, though Nyan didn't know Locke well. She knew Hancock, and was happy to use Locke's name to scare the lieutenant general. Flying Squirrel glanced at Nyan, then turned and barked, "Let's go." The Navy departed, and Nyan sighed in relief. Increase security on Nine Snake Island, now. Don't let anyone get near. She ordered Sandersonia and Marigold. The island buzzed with activity, as warriors deployed along the coast and at sea. Aboard the warship, a sailor asked Flying Squirrel, "Lieutenant General, are we just heading back?" Flying Squirrel watched Nine Snake Island disappear over the horizon. It's not worth the risk. We can do without one warlord. Let's return to Marineford and prepare for the upcoming war. The warship sped towards Marineford, Navy headquarters. Meanwhile, on Dressrosa, Doflamingo listened to a Navy admiral standing before him, and after a moment, he smirked. Understood. I'll go. This promises to be an interesting war, after all. Doflamingo cackled maniacally, and the admiral quickly left. That man will be there, too. Doflamingo said to Treble. This war is going to get even more exciting. Treble nodded. Of course he'll be there. He has everything to gain. Doflamingo stood. Time for me to head to Marineford. I'm leaving things here to you. He sauntered off, a dark glint in his eyes. On Krigana Island, the world's greatest swordsman, Dracul Mihawk, resided. In a castle, Hawkeye lounged on his throne. He sipped his wine. Perona, I'm leaving this to you. A girl in Gothic attire and a high hat protested, I want to go to Marineford with you. I want to see the war between the Navy and Whitebeard. It's the battle between the strongest man in the world and the Navy. I want to see who will win, Hawkeye said. You were once a member of the Thriller Bark Pirates led by Moonlight Moria. You don't belong in this war. Besides, I don't know how you and that green-haired Zorro ended up here a year ago, but both of you have become lazy guests. Now I am stuck with a useless woman who does nothing but eat. You. Perona's face flushed with anger. She sputtered, unable to find the right words. Finally, she huffed, "Fine, I won't go." Hawkeye stood and started to leave. Halfway to the door, he turned back and said, "It's for your own good. It'll be a bloodbath." Then, he was gone. Perona stared after him, and then took his seat, pouting, "It's not that dangerous." Chapter 95 War Preparations. Luffy breaks into Impel Down City. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Naval Headquarters, Malinfando. Today, Marineford Plaza was packed, swarming with 100,000 of the Navy's best. The war between the Navy and Whitebeard, one of the four emperors, was about to begin, broadcast live for the whole world to see. Today's the day they execute Fire Fist Ace. Man, Marineford's really crowded. Look. The three admirals are here. Admiral Akainu, Admiral Akiji, and Admiral Kizaru were sitting high above the crowd, legs crossed, exuding an air of arrogance. Then, Fleet Admiral Sengoku and the hero of the Marines, Garp, appeared, forming a last line of defense. Their arrival stunned the world. No one expected such an impressive lineup. Next came Vice Admirals Crane, Enigmo, Doberman, Strawberry, Dalmatian, Bastille, Comer, John Giant, and Ronce. We also have Rear Admirals Smoker, Hina, Full Body, Django, and Tashigi. Then came the Navy's science unit, led by Commander Sentamaru, with the pacifistas, human weapons modeled after the Shichibukai Bartholomew Kuma. Speaking of the Shichibukai, here are Dracul Mihawk, Don Quixote da Flamingo, Gecko Moria, and the aforementioned Bartholomew Kuma. Kuma has been completely converted and lost his free will. Jinbe is locked up in Impel Down, and Boa Hancock is siding with Locke. As for Crocodile, Locke defeated him and the Navy threw him into Impel Down. The lineup shocked everyone. Every island in the Sabaody archipelago was full of people glued to the screens, watching Marineford. This setup reminds me of the buster call the Navy launched against Locke 3 years ago. I wonder if the Navy's got enough firepower to stop the Whitebeard Pirates this time, that the voices echoed around the globe as Rayleigh, Shaki, and Stella watched Marineford on their screens. I didn't expect this lineup to be so close to the demon-slaying order from 3 years ago. Shaki commented, eyes glued to the screen. The Navy's up against Whitebeard this time, a true force to be reckoned with. Rayleigh added, Impel Down, uninvited guests had arrived. Luffy and his crew had fought their way into Impel Down, bearing a few injuries. Luffy stared at Impel Down, biting the tip of his right thumb. His hand began to swell. Gear 3rd. Giant pistol, his entire right hand ballooned, coated in armament haki, and he unleashed a devastating punch. Boom. Smoke billowed. A hole appeared, and Luffy and the others charged through. Ace. Luffy muttered as he ran. The commotion outside quickly attracted attention inside. Dozens of guards rushed out. Halt. Who goes there? Three-sword style, Onigiri. Zoro charged ahead, instantly cutting down the guards. Slash. 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 Blood sprayed, and the guards fell. Bang. 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 Dust kicked up as Luffy and his crew continued their advance. Crimson Hell, the most common criminals were imprisoned here, and Luffy's arrival immediately drew their attention. Hey, how'd you get out? Open the locks, quick. Get me out, and I'll join your crew. Luffy and his crew ignored them, pressing forward. Suddenly, a figure appeared in their path, a woman with a hat obscuring her right eye, blonde hair, a brown jacket, brown shorts, and a white shirt. She wore a black tie, dark red high boots, and dark red gloves. Domino stood before Luffy, flanked by hundreds of guards. Where do you think you're going, escapees? Domino demanded. I'll take this one. You guys go on ahead and save Ace. Zoro declared. Okay, Zoro, be careful. Luffy said, concern etched on his face. Luffy, Sanji, and the others continued onward. You're just going to ignore me? Kill them. Domino ordered. Instantly, hundreds of guards charged. A blur of steel flashed through the air. Two-sword style, Eagle Wave. Zoro unleashed a powerful slash, cutting down several guards at once. You're fighting me. Whoosh. Zoro lunged into the crowd, unleashing a whirlwind of destruction. Slash. 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 Blood rained down. The ground became slick with it, and Zoro's clothes and swords were quickly soaked. Domino, enraged, charged Zoro, her fist glowing with armament haki. Clang. Zoro sensed Domino's attack and quickly parried. The clash of metal rang out. Zoro stared at Domino, his eyes narrowing. Looks like I'll have to take you out first. Zoro unleashed a flurry of attacks. Three-sword style, Tiger Hunt. Boom. The attack was aimed at Domino, but she dodged at the last second. Boom. Slash. Domino avoided the blow, but a guard behind her was instantly cut down. Bang. 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 The two traded blows, Zoro occasionally slashing at nearby guards. The entire battle was being monitored by a Den Mushi. Where did these people come from? Hannibal exclaimed, watching the images transmitted by the Den Mushi. Capture them immediately. Where's Magellan? This is all his fault. His mistake. He shouldn't be the warden. A soldier approached Hannibal. Reporting, Vice Warden. Warden Magellan is in the bathroom. Hearing this, Hannibal knew he had no choice. He had to go and capture Luffy and his crew. As Luffy and the others reached the second level, a voice boomed out. Straw Hat! Get me outta here! That it was Buggy the Clown, yelling when he saw Luffy. Luffy stopped and glanced at Buggy. Then, he coated his fist in armament Haki and unleashed a powerful punch. Boom! Buggy's cell shattered. Buggy emerged, ready to say more, but Luffy was already rushing towards the second level. Wait a minute, Straw Hat. The place you're headed is Beast Hell, Buggy shouted after him. Chapter 96 Whitebeard Pirates, the battle begins. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Naval headquarters, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Every marine gripped their weapon, eyes glued to the sea. Suddenly, pirate ships materialized on the water, cloaked in some kind of film. Looks like they surfaced using that film stuff. Sengoku observed the Whitebeard Pirates as they appeared. The Whitebeard Pirates are here. All hands on deck. Full alert, the announcement blared across Marineford, and every marine braced for battle. The live broadcast audience went wild at the sight of Whitebeard's fleet. There he is. Whitebeard, one of the 4 emperors. The world's strongest man has arrived at Marineford. Strongest, huh? You sure about that? Isn't that title supposed to belong to the sea demon, Rocks? The debate raged across the globe. Is this it? The start of the war, Rayleigh wondered, watching the Whitebeard Pirates on the screen. Baewa. So, this is the Yonko Whitebeard Pirates. The man they call the strongest in the world, Doflamingo said with his signature twisted grin. But times change. That title belongs to someone else now. Hawkeye said, his gaze fixed on the emerging fleet. Couldn't agree more. Doflamingo cast a sideways glance at Hawkeye. A ship with a massive whale figurehead caught Sengoku's attention. The Moby Dick, a towering figure stood on its deck, white beard flowing in the wind. His gaze swept across Marineford, locking eyes with Sengoku. Whitebeard smirked, then unleashed a punch into the air with his left hand. Boom! Space shattered, and the sea and ground trembled from the force. A colossal tsunami erupted, surging towards Marineford. That punch, that's Whitebeard's power. Just a casual punch, and he does that much damage. If that tsunami hits, Marineford will be underwater. Marine stared in disbelief at the approaching wave. His ability is a real pain. Sengoku frowned at the approaching tidal wave. Whoosh! A figure shot from his seat into the air. Akiji. Ice Age. Freezing air rapidly encased the tsunami, turning it into a gigantic frozen wave. The ice spread, solidifying the sea beneath the Whitebeard Pirates' ships. Now the pirate ships were immobilized, perfect targets for artillery fire. Admiral Akiji. Admiral Akiji froze the tsunami. This is the power of an admiral. Incredible. Marines and pirates alike were stunned by Akiji's display of power. Moby Dick, Whitebeard gripped his supreme-grade sword, Mirakumajiri, in his right hand. That ice brat, his ability is definitely a headache. Then, the pirates began leaping from their ships, charging towards Marineford. The Marines surged forward to meet them head-on. The battle had begun. The war has started, the live broadcast viewers exclaimed. Impel Down. Rubber giant axe. Boom. Luffy's attack sent the soldiers in front of him flying. The ground cracked under the force of his blow, filling the air with dust and smoke. Sanji and the others followed Luffy, now on the 3rd level, Starvation Hell. Luffy, we're moving too slow. It's only a matter of time before someone stops us. Let's break open the prison cells. It'll cause chaos in Impel Down. It'll also draw some of the heat off us. Nami yelled to Luffy, who was ahead of them. Luffy turned to Sanji. Sanji, you got this. Sanji stopped running and grinned. Leave it to me. Sanji stayed behind on the 3rd floor, destroying cells and unleashing the prisoners within. Oh no! All the prisoners are escaping. Someone alert the warden. The guards responsible for the 3rd floor scrambled in panic. Mr. 3 escaped from his cell, surprised to see the Straw Hats in Impel Down. He rushed towards the 2nd floor, but was intercepted. Captain Buggy. Mr. 3 stared at Buggy, who was running from a large group of people. Buggy noticed Mr. 3 and shouted. Open it up. Seeing Buggy's pursuers, Mr. 3 had no choice but to flee towards the 4th floor. First level, Crimson Hell. 3-sword style, 108-pound Phoenix, .3 slashing gusts of blue wind hurtled towards Domino, who was kneeling on the ground, covered in stab wounds and bleeding. Boom. Domino and the remaining Impel Down soldiers were blown away by the attack. Zoro wiped the sweat from his brow, glanced at the fallen bodies, and continued onward. 4th level, Blazing Hell. Little Sadie, flanked by 4 jailer beasts and a squad of soldiers, blocked the passage between the 3rd and 4th levels. Footsteps echoed from the 3rd level. Luffy and his group stopped, facing the obstacle before them. Luffy, looks like we have to fight them one by one, Usopp exclaimed, eyeing little Sadie. We still have 2 more floors before we can save Ace, Chopper said. Then let's get this over with. Luffy's skin turned red and steam began to rise from his body. Second gear. Rubber jet pistol. Boom. Luffy one-shot one of the jailer beasts. Following Luffy's lead, Chopper and the others joined the attack. Little Sadie waved her hand, commanding the soldiers. Kill them. A chaotic melee erupted. Chopper transformed into his monstrous form, punching soldiers into the air. Boom. Dust billowed as little Sadie lunged at Luffy, lashing out with her long leather whip. Luffy activated his armament Haki, blocking and then countering with a punch. Boom. Little Sadie stumbled back, eyeing Luffy. Armament Haki, huh? Not bad. Then, both of them quickly charged towards each other. Sengoku remained oblivious to the events unfolding in Impel Down, consumed by the unfolding battle at Marineford. Chapter 97 Fierce Battle, Bista. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bang, 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 boom, 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 the relentless sound of artillery fire echoed across Marineford Square. Navy and pirates clashed, weapons in hand, bodies dropping left and right. Splat, bright red blood splattered across the square, the dead piling up. Both Marine and pirate, Fleet Admiral Sengoku and the other high-ranking officers watched the battle unfold below, holding back for now, waiting to see Whitebeard's next move. Thud, thud. Elsewhere on the battlefield, a figure moved. Like a whirlwind, cutting down anyone in their path, naval soldiers fell one after another, throats slashed, their blood staining the ground crimson, a pungent smell of iron filling the air. The figure was a tall, dark-skinned man sporting 2 curved black beards, a dark blue top hat, and a dark blue, open-front shirt that showed off his chest hair. He wore a black cloak, white gloves, light blue pants, and a scabbard on each hip. Carrying 2 Western-style swords, it was Bista, the foil. Captain of the Whitebeard Pirates' 5th Division, Bista wielded his swords, cutting down anyone in his path. Each swing brought down another Marine. Damn it, that's got to be a division commander from Whitebeard's crew. The one with the dual swords is Bista, the foil. Smoker and Tashigi watched Bista tear through their ranks. We can't let him keep this up. We need to stop him. Tashigi turned to Smoker, determination in her eyes. Before Smoker could answer, she was already charging forward. Shave. Cut through steel. Tashigi coated her katana with armament Haki and slashed at Vista's back. Vista, sensing the danger, quickly whirled around, his swords meeting her blade. Clang. The sound of metal on metal rang out, creating a shockwave that kicked up dust all around them. Bista eyed the Navy officer before him, narrowing his eyes slightly. Not bad. He unleashed a flurry of sword strikes, energy crackling around him. Tashigi barely managed to block the attacks, the clash of blades ringing in the air. Despite her best efforts, she was already taking hits. Whoosh. Smoker appeared beside Bista, wielding his massive jutty with a sea prism stone tip, and swung it down. Clang. Bista deflected Smoker's attack with one of his swords. Seeing her opening, Tashigi pressed her attack, slashing at Bista with her katana. Clang. Bista parried her strike with his other sword. He held off both Smoker and Tashigi with his swords. You two aren't in my league, Bista growled, his eyes fixed on them. Ha! With a burst of strength, Bista unleashed a powerful swing. Boom. Smoker and Tashigi were sent flying backward, skidding across the ground for several yards before they could stop. He's strong, no surprise he's a division commander for Whitebeard, Tashigi said, looking at Bista with a serious expression. Thud, thud, Bista cut down several more charging naval soldiers. The soldiers fell, their faces twisted in pain and disbelief as Bista strolled toward Smoker and Tashigi. This war is brutal. So many are dying. Both Navy and pirate forces are being wiped out. And the admirals haven't even made a move yet. This is just the beginning. The real fight is still to come, said an observer watching the live broadcast. Elsewhere, a pirate ship emerged in a sea littered with the corpses of naval soldiers. The water was stained red with blood, the stench of death thick in the air, the wreckage of warships scattered everywhere. The war between the Navy and Whitebeard is underway, Robin said, staring at the blood-red sea. The war has begun. Let's fight our way through. Sink any Navy ships that try to stop us, Locke declared, gazing at the bloody scene before him, in Alabasta. I wonder if Locke will show up at Marineford, Vivi said, watching the screen. I bet he will. Nami replied, looking at Vivi. And that guy is obviously back. Why hasn't he come to get us? Nami complained, pouting slightly. Vivi smiled. He must have something important to do. Maybe he'll pick us up when he's finished. Nami looked at Vivi, a hint of worry in her eyes. Vivi, what if Locke has forgotten about us? Vivi was taken aback. It's possible. A scene change. Boom. A bizarre figure appeared, a giant with horns on his head, long fangs jutting from his mouth, light green skin, long red hair, and thick eyelashes. The giant towered over everyone, an ancient giant, bigger than the others. It was Ors Jr., captain of the Ors Pirates, a descendant of the demon Ors. Ors Jr.'s sudden appearance shocked the Navy and the world. What is that thing? It's enormous. That's the biggest giant I've ever seen. The naval soldiers were stunned. Ors Jr.'s massive fist slammed into the ground. Several Navy soldiers were caught in the blast, crushed instantly. Boom. The ground trembled, the ice split apart. Marines lay dead everywhere, smoke and dust billowing through the air. Boom. The ground shook again as two giant vice admirals of the Navy attacked Ors Jr. Seeing them, Ors Jr. drew the broadsword from his waist and swung at the two approaching giant officers, a man and a woman. Clang. The three massive blades collided with a deafening roar, creating a powerful shockwave. The ground around them shattered, and nearby soldiers and pirates were sent flying. Ors Jr. pressed his attack, slamming his blade down on the male giant vice admiral. The vice admiral could only raise his sword to meet the blow. Boom. With a deafening crack, Ors Jr.'s blade shattered the vice admiral's weapon and continued its downward arc. Splat, the giant vice admiral was cut in half, bright red blood raining down on the square, the pungent smell of blood permeating the air. Everyone stared in stunned silence, the Navy looking at Ors Jr. with horror. Ors Jr. then swung his sword at the female giant vice admiral. Chapter 98 The Terror of Oz, The Battle of Impel City. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Boom. A head flew off, spraying blood everywhere. Bright red blood splattered on the ground. Oz took down the giant vice admiral with a single blow. His hands, and his blade were drenched in crimson, blood dripping from the massive knife. Boom. The huge, headless corpse crashed down, blood gushing from the neck. A deadly stillness fell over everything. Everyone in Marineford, even those watching the broadcast, stared in shock. Some viewers vomited, others broke out in cold sweats, while a few watched with morbid excitement. Frightened children ran to their mothers. Marines and pirates near the body were covered head to toe in blood. The air reeked of it. One Marine, seeing the blood and smelling the stench, immediately threw up. A nearby pirate seized the moment and hacked him down. Thwack, another head rolled. This was the reality of the battlefield. Oz's strike terrified some Marines, sending them into fits of vomiting. The Whitebeard Pirates weren't about to let that chance pass. They raised their weapons and began to chop down the vomiting Marines. Thwack, thwack, heads rolled as the Marines died before they knew what was happening. Don't lose your nerve. Get it together. This is a battlefield. Warring States roared, trying to rally his troops. The Marines quickly snapped out of it, but they were shaken, their fighting spirit diminished. Gura gura gura, Whitebeard laughed, then bellowed. Good job, Oz. My sons, destroy Marineford. The Whitebeard Pirates' morale surged, while the navies plummeted. What are those damn warlords doing? Are they just here to watch the show? Warring states yelled, seeing the warlords still hadn't made a move. Across the battlefield, Doflamingo watched the giant Oz with a grin. Fufufu. How brutal. But I have to put on a show, or the fleet admiral will get mad. 5 color strings. Doflamingo created nearly invisible threads from his fingertips, then launched them at Oz like claws. Thwack, thwack. The threads cut through friend and foe alike. Thwack. The strings finally caught Oz's back, tearing deep gashes and showering the area with blood. Doflamingo, did you even look where you were attacking? Those were our guys. A vice admiral shouted at Doflamingo. Doflamingo's attack had killed 15 Marines. He clearly didn't care about collateral damage. Fufufufu. Doflamingo laughed, looking at the vice admiral. My bad. But you can't hurt that giant without taking risks, can you? The vice admiral was left speechless. Nearby, Hawkeye Mihawk sized up Oz and unleashed a powerful slash. A massive arc of energy hurtled toward Oz's leg. Boom. Thwack. Oz's right leg was sliced open, blood spurting. Oz. The Whitebeard Pirates shouted in concern. Oz's size was a huge disadvantage. While his power was incredible, he was also a perfect target. Focus all cannons on that giant. Warring states commanded. Cannon fire rained down on Oz, who couldn't evade due to his size. Bang, 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 shells slammed into Oz's body. Ignoring the pain, he charged forward. Red-haired. Oz roared and swung his sword at the navy. Boom. A massive explosion sent smoke and dust billowing. Dozens of Marines died instantly. Suddenly, a group of pacifistas appeared on the battlefield, led by Sentomaru, Kizaru's protege. Beams of light shot out, striking the Whitebeard Pirates. Bang, 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 explosions erupted, blasting pirates off their feet. The pacifistas' arrival boosted the navy's morale, and the battle intensified. Meanwhile, in Impel Down, 4th level, blazing hell. Bang, 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 Luffy and Sadie engaged in a fierce battle, their fists coated in armament. Haki, Luffy's right fist, imbued with Haki, slammed into Sadie's. Sadie's fist met his, equally armored. Boom! A shockwave tore through the air, shattering the ground around them. Sake bottle dance, chain strike. Brook unleashed a flurry of attacks from his cane sword, soldiers falling left and right. Thwack, thwack, blood splattered and bodies fell as Brook carved a path through the enemy ranks. Nearby, Chopper pummeled soldiers with his massive fists. Boom! A single punch sent a soldier flying. Must kill. Gunpowder Star. Usopp bombarded the enemy with explosive projectiles. Though not powerful, they were enough to knock soldiers off their feet. Bang, 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 soldiers fell as Usopp panted, out of breath. There are too many of them. This isn't sustainable. Bang, 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 Luffy continued to fight Sadie, his anxiety growing as time slipped away. Damn it. We have to beat him quickly. Ace is running out of time. Luffy's eyes hardened. Gomu Gomu no giant whip. Luffy's right foot expanded to an enormous size, coated in armament Haki, and slammed into Sadie. Boom. Sadie, unable to dodge, braced himself with Haki-infused fists. The impact sent him flying. Boom. Sadie crashed to the ground in a cloud of dust. Huff, huff. Luffy, hands on his knees, gasped for air. He was exhausted, his energy draining fast. He and the others quickly dispatched the remaining enemies and collapsed to the ground. Exhausted, they were battered from their journey through Impel Down, from the outside world to the prison depths. 1st level, Crimson Hell. Zoro was still lost on the 1st floor. He stopped, muttering to himself. Where did those guys go? Chapter 99 The Fierce Battle, Magellan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bachi Kyangayu. Kizaru stood up and watched the countless dazzling yellow energy balls rain down on the battlefield. Star. Bang bang bang. explosions rocked the area, but the Whitebeard Pirates didn't take much damage from Kizaru's attack. Kizaru sat back down, smoothed out his clothes, and Akainu, who was next to him, shot him a glance. Your attacks are about as effective as punching smoke. Kizaru's face hardened. If you think you can do better, go take on Whitebeard yourself. Akainu didn't reply, just silently observed the ongoing battle. Akiji watched them bickering but remained seated, focused on the fight below. That yellow ape, Sengoku muttered under his breath, having expected Kizaru's sudden attack to inflict serious damage. Unfortunately, it hadn't. Soon, the Whitebeard Pirates division commanders all joined the fray. Sengoku abruptly left his position and approached a nearby marine soldier. Go to Impel Down and bring Fire Fist Ace here. The soldier saluted and hurried off. Garp, still seated, watched the exchange with his eyes slightly closed. Clang clang. Vista, facing off against Smoker and Tashigi, quickly engaged them in combat. However, Tashigi had already suffered multiple cuts from Vista's sword, her clothes stained crimson with blood. White blow. Smoker transformed his arms and legs into smoke, extending them to unleash a barrage of fists and kicks at Vista. Vista narrowed his eyes, watching the incoming attacks. He swiftly wielded his saber, generating a storm of slashes. The resulting energy carved into the ground, instantly cutting through Smoker's smoky limbs. Smoker quickly retracted his appendages, now bleeding. He glared at Vista, saying in a low voice, "Haki is a real pain." Meanwhile, at Impel Down. Okay, got it. Magellan, having just finished in the restroom, had received word to escort Fire Fist Ace. He quickly made his way to the control room, where a soldier rushed up to inform him about Luffy and his group's intrusion into Impel Down. After absorbing the information, Magellan glanced at the surveillance screen showing Luffy and the others heading towards the 5th floor. What a nuisance. I'll handle these intruders. Hannibal, you take charge of escorting Fire Fist Ace. Magellan instructed the soldier. With that, Magellan headed for the 5th floor, on the 3rd level, Starvation Hell. Tummy shoot. Sanji kicked a soldier in the gut. The soldier doubled over in pain and went flying backward. Boom. He slammed into a wall and slid down, kicking up dust. Whoosh. Sanji charged into the surrounding group of soldiers, unleashing a one-sided beatdown. Bang bang bang. One by one, soldiers were sent flying, each spitting out a mouthful of blood. Sanji freed all the prisoners on the 3rd floor and was now being pursued by the remaining guards, whom he was systematically defeating. Suddenly, a short man with 2 horns on his head appeared before Sanji. It was Saldeth, followed by a blue gorilla and a squad of soldiers. Saldeth had managed to recapture some escaped prisoners, but the more he caught, the more seemed to appear. He soon realized that the man in front of him was responsible. Arrest him. At Saldeth's command, the soldiers and the blue gorilla charged towards Sanji. Sanji, slightly winded, muttered, "Looks like I don't get a break." And so, the battle on the 3rd floor continued. On the 6th level, Infinite Hell, Hannibal led a squad of guards toward Fire Fist Ace's cell. Ace, sitting in his cell, heard the approaching footsteps. He looked up slightly and said, "Looks like it's time for my execution." Jinbe, seeing the guards approaching, wanted to help Ace escape, but he knew that he stood no chance in Impel Down. "Take him away," Hannibal ordered. Looking at Fire Fist Ace, several soldiers approached to unshackle Ace, the sound of clanking iron chains echoing in the prison. With Fire Fist Ace now in custody, only 3 hours remained before his execution. Luffy and his team's efforts had been in vain, and their only option was to try and rescue Ace at Marineford. Luffy and his group reached the 5th level, extreme cold hell. Snow fell like winter, the temperature plummeting. They were immediately surrounded. The prison bomb troops and the armored wolves quickly encircled Luffy and his companions. The 12 jailer beasts also arrived, mobilized by Magellan. Magellan himself slowly emerged from the crowd, his right hand dripping with purple poison. He looked at Luffy and the others and said, "You won't get any further." Luffy and the others wore serious expressions, sensing the immense pressure emanating from Magellan. They knew they faced a powerful foe. Luffy, covered in armament haki, stared at Magellan, ready to attack. "Capture them." Magellan gave the order, and everyone charged towards Luffy and his group. Second gear. Rubber jet Gatling. Luffy's body turned red, steam pouring from his skin as his hands rapidly struck out like a machine gun, his Haki-enhanced fists pounded into the charging enemies, bang bang bang, figures were sent flying instantly. Luffy's punches were too fast, knocking down any enemies that got close. Suddenly, a jailer beast resembling a bull swung a mace at Luffy. Seeing this, Luffy punched the mace head-on, his armament Haki shattering it, whoosh, Luffy leaped into the air, extending his right foot, coated in armament Haki, to kick the jailer beast, boom, the Minotaurus, as the cow jailer beast was called, was sent flying. Plowing down a group of soldiers, smoke and dust filled the air. Magellan decided he could no longer stand idly by and stepped forward himself, purple poison dripping from his hands as he approached Luffy and the others. Luffy saw Magellan coming and said to Nami and the others behind him, "You guys stay back, this guy's trouble." Luffy focused intently on Magellan. Nami and the others went to deal with the regular soldiers, leaving Luffy and Magellan facing each other. Poison Cloud. Rubber Jet Bazooka. Chapter 100. Luffy and others were defeated, and Fire Fist Ace was escorted to Malinfando. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Marin Vatican Square. Bang, 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 boom, 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 cannonballs exploded, and Marines and pirates fell. Moby Dick, Whitebeard watched the chaos unfold. He threw a punch into the air, crack, crack, the air shattered, cracks appeared, and a massive force surged across Marineford Square. Boom. The ground in Marineford crumbled, crack spiderwebbing across the surface as Marines tumbled into the icy fissures. Whitebeard's blow caused heavy casualties. Kizaru, one of the three admirals, reacted instantly, turning into a beam of yellow light. Kizaru materialized in mid-air, yellow energy orbs gathering around him. Yada no Kagami. Countless yellow energy blasts hurtled towards Whitebeard. He stood firm on the Moby Dick, and just as the energy was about to strike, a figure materialized in front of him, engulfed in blue flames. Bang, 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 an explosion rocked the Moby Dick, and when the smoke cleared, a figure stood revealed. Marco, the 1st Division commander of the Whitebeard Pirates. Captain Marco blocked Kizaru's attack. Awesome, it's Captain Marco. Cheers erupted from both sides of the battlefield. Marco's arrival was a huge morale boost for the Whitebeard Pirates. Whoops, blocked, Kizaru said, looking at Marco. Pops, Marco landed next to Whitebeard. Good. Marco, stay out of my way. Go help where you're needed on the battlefield. Whitebeard said, glancing at Marco. Squirrel appeared beside Whitebeard, and Marco, seeing him, said, "Scared, I'm leaving things here to you." Marco took off toward the battlefield, leaving Squirrel silently standing behind Whitebeard. Whitebeard paid no mind. Squirrel was his son, and he trusted him implicitly. Hellhound. Akainu shot up from his seat and charged onto the battlefield, striking a pirate. A magma dog head instantly blew apart the pirate's skull. The pirate's head burst open from the searing magma, hot blood splattering on the ground. Boom! The pirate's body crashed down, blood pouring from his head, steam and white smoke rising from the gaping wound. Akainu waded into the battle, dealing devastating blows to the Whitebeard Pirates. Meanwhile, some distance from Marineford, a pirate ship approached. Locke gazed at the Navy ships blocking their path. Clear these out before we head to Marineford. Time's running out. Locke's right hand ignited, and he punched a naval ship in front of him. Boom! A massive fireball obliterated the warship. The intense heat boiled the seawater, creating visible heat waves in the air. The temperature in the area spiked, and the remaining Navy warships quickly pulled back from Locke. Bang, 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 cannonballs rained down on Locke's pirate ship, but before Locke could act, Robin stepped in. Dazzling 100 blossoms, great net. Countless hands wove together into a wall, intercepting the cannonballs. Bang, bang, bang. Colossal colors, giant tree, strike. Countless feet formed two gigantic legs that crashed down on a nearby warship. Bang, bang, bang. The warship was crushed under the giant feet, flattening the Navy, splintering the deck, and destroying the vessel instantly. Damn it, why is the Sea Devil here? An admiral on a warship exclaimed, but there was no reply. only a fireball hurtling towards him. Fireball. Locke flicked his index finger, thumb upward, the other fingers curled in. A small fireball appeared, expanding rapidly as it launched. The water churned and boiled in the fireball's wake, hot steam rising from the surface. The fireball slammed into the Navy warship, boom. The explosion sent flames erupting, incinerating the warship and its crew. Scorched bodies littered the sea alongside the wreckage. The remaining warships were destroyed one after another. With the Navy dealt with, Locke and his crew continued toward Marineford. Impel Down, Level 5, the freezing hell. Gear 3rd. Rubber giant stamp. Luffy's feet ballooned in size, coated in jet black armament Haki, and he kicked Magellan with all his might. Magellan countered, his right hand coated in purple poison, boom. The force of the impact created a shockwave, and the ground beneath Magellan cracked. Luffy's foot was now covered in purple poison. Even through the armament Haki, he could feel the poison seeping into his body. Huff, huff, Luffy panted, staring at Magellan, who remained calm. Poison puffer. Magellan spat out a volley of poison balls, targeting Luffy and his allies. Contact with these balls would result in instant poisoning. Brook and the others dodged frantically, parrying the attacks of the Impel Down guards as they moved. Boom. A guard lunged at Brook from behind, but a flashbang exploded nearby. Flashbang. Usopp fired a flash shell, temporarily blinding the attacking guard. Thwack. Brook swiftly slashed the guard down. Whoosh. Magellan appeared in front of Chopper, throwing a punch. Chopper countered with a punch of his own. Boom. Chopper was sent flying, his hand now coated in purple poison. Chopper. Frankie yelled, seeing Chopper knocked away. Strong hammer. Frankie ripped off the synthetic skin glove on his right hand, revealing his steel fist. He charged Magellan. Magellan dodged slightly, landing a punch on Frankie. Boom. Frankie was knocked back as well. Magellan turned his attention to Luffy and the others. Time to deal with you. Poison Demon, Hell's Judgment. Magellan unleashed a skull-shaped cloud of crimson poison. Unlike the purple poison, this one was a specially formulated toxin. Contact with the red poison would cause a spreading infection, corroding everything in its path. Touching it would lead to a slow and agonizing death. Everyone, move! Luffy yelled. Bang, bang, bang. Unfortunately, Nami and the others were trapped, surrounded by guards and jailer beasts. Nami, the guards, and the jailer beasts were all caught in the attack. Luffy was hit as well. He struggled to stay on his feet, but Magellan appeared before him, landing a punch. Boom. Luffy crashed to the ground, but in his fall, he pushed himself outside the city walls. A Navy warship was waiting outside, where Fire Fist Ace was being escorted by Hannibal. Take him. Hannibal ordered the Navy escorts, and with that, Fire Fist Ace was taken to Marineford. P.S. Finally, 100 chapters. I wasn't sure I could make it. A lot of people said I'd be in trouble if I didn't hit 100 chapters. But here we are.